Hey, Engraver here. Welcome back to my channel. This is another update for my MIDI score for my piece Idyllic. And yes, it is just the rhythmic section. I promise I will get to bass and harmony, but for now, the rhythmic section has been quite time consuming, which is okay. I have about 3.5, almost 4 minutes of material for some improv later. So we'll just, without further ado, we'll just get right to it and listen to the whole thing once and maybe listen to it again. So let's go ahead and get started. We have our kick, our snare, our hi-hat, and our ride. And when I evaluate this will be this huge block of code. When I evaluate this, it will start out with the kick and the hi-hat. So here goes. So we have 64 beats for our first section, plus 8 beats as an extension. This is a harmonic extension that has a bit of a turnaround before getting into the next harmonic section. And so I have divided all this up by 64 beats with an additional 8 beats. Now, these comments do seem a little gratuitous, but these have helped me significantly. They have helped me tremendously with making sure everything is lined up just right. And there is the snare. So the snare has 64 beats of rest plus the additional extension, the 8-beat extension. And we're right here. Now rather than 64, it's 32 because we're adding 1 beat of rest followed by 1 beat of sound. And so just having that here. Here's the extension, 7, 8, and now we're here. And you may have noticed a new instrument enter in, and that is our ride. So the ride has about 128 beats of rest, or 2 sections of 64 beats plus an extension of 8 beats. And then it comes in the third section of 64 beats. And some of these repeats are different between instruments. It depends on if I'm using just quarter notes or 8th notes or 16th notes and all of that. It really does depend on the note event and the note value. That's what determines the number of repeats here. Right, so we just entered a new section, and I think, based on what I know about the kick, we have entered this one right here. So we've got another 64 beats with an additional 8 beats, and one more time before entering a rest of 72 beats, which is really 64 plus 8. I was just too lazy to do another 64 plus 8, apparently. So I designated 72 beats of rest for the kick, for the snare, hopefully. And I think the hi-hat and they might all pull out at the same time. I think the hi-hat or the ride pulls out a little ahead of schedule. And what I have in mind there is for the bass to continue or the harmony to continue or just have the violin. I haven't decided. So after this, I believe, 6th session or section of 64 beats plus 8, that's about 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes and 40 seconds approximately. So now you've seen everything pull out. So everyone has every one, as far as instruments are concerned, they do have 72 beats of silence. So whether it's me just improvising by myself with some harmony, I really think it's going to be some harmony and maybe some bass. But after 72 counts, we'll go back in for another 3.5 minutes, but that's all my score lined up here. Should come in at any point. 72 beats, but they're fast beats. There they are. It's about 110 beats per minute. I might go a little bit faster with violin, I'm not sure. But there's that new section. And one nice thing about this is that even though it's been quite time-consuming constructing or structuring this score, I can actually record this in real time on these separate tracks. Now, I really wish that I could record all these tracks simultaneously. Unfortunately, that is not so. I can only record them one track at a time, but it would line up just perfectly because everything is quantized in SuperCollider and everything would be quantized here in Logic. So maybe I'll do that another time, another session. There's a little bit of change here in terms of color in the hi-hat and also the timing. I think one instrument is offset by 4 or 8 beats, so it's adding a little bit of variance. It might work out. I like how things are falling in place here. I like how the hi-hat is accenting as part of a syncopation. However, it's not a syncopation in every other beat, but it's really off. It's spread out just a little bit more, and I think that can be quite effective. One thing that I like about the hi-hat is that it feels like it's in 3, but it's really in 2. And the reason why it's in, or feels like it's in 3, is because I have 3 instruments here that are closely related sounds. So 3 closely related sounds going at very strict, rigid 8th notes. So 3 against 2, so it has a bit of color. You never feel like you're out of 2, but it does feel like you have an element of 3. So 3 against 2 can work quite effectively, I think. It's almost like a hemiola, except it's just with timbre, not so much actual meter. So some little tip for you if you're composing music. And you can hear the hi-hat there, not hi-hat, the ride. That little, if you caught that, it's really fast. Pa-da-pa. I really like that in the ride. I didn't care for this little sequence in the other instruments, but the ride is just short enough, and it's just, it's got that sound, it's got that color, perfect for something really fast, like a little lick. We should be coming to the end of this second run. Anytime now. All right, so they are all stopping for another 72 beats of rest. But here, I'll just go ahead and stop the instruments before they come back. And that's it. So it's about 3.5 minutes of material here. And now I just have to line this up just a little bit more. Maybe I'll leave it. I don't want to get too perfect in the alignment, but there is my rhythmic section at 110 beats per minute. And into this week, I'll line up the bass and the harmony. And what I hope to do in addition to that is actually add new instrumentation. I have temporary instrumentation. It's not really the instrumentation that I want with my violin, but we'll see. I really need to get this done. I'd like to do about 4 of these, between 4 and 6 of these this year, so I have some material to improvise on or improvise with. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. That is my rhythmic section. Hopefully we'll get into more bass and harmony the next time you see this MIDI score. I promise. And until next time, thank you always for watching. Happy composing and experimenting and producing the art you love. And I will catch you later.